activities that have been going on here at Longwood with regard to lawn care, battery-powered lawn care equipment. And I know that some similar things are going on at other campuses, but and some of you may want to chime in with your equivalent activities, but I'll tell you about ours. So this started a couple of years ago when a resident read an article in a magazine, in newspaper, that said that a town in California was contemplating outlawing gasoline-powered string trimmers because people were objecting to the noise and the pollution. And he wondered if we might use electric ones here because ours certainly were noisy and polluting. And so he came to the Energy Committee and we set up a working group to see what could be done. So what did the working group do? It talked to the facilities department about what was currently in use and what that meant in terms of our carbon footprint. We had 9 trimmers, gas-powered trimmers, 2,200 hours a year of use approximately, 185 gallons of gasoline in a 50-to-1 ratio with oil. These are 2-stroke engines that mix gasoline and oil, which makes them a good bit worse polluters than larger 4-stroke engines. And together they emitted about 3,200 pounds of carbon dioxide per year, which is roughly the equivalent of a car's worth. And generally they were unreliable because they were at any given time, 2 or 3 of them would be down for maintenance. I think it was largely carburetor problems, if I remember correctly. Anyway, so that was the basic starting point. Then the team looked at alternatives, and one of the places they looked was the company Steel, which makes both the gasoline and battery-powered units. Here are some of the Steel units you can see. These are all the kinds of products that we use and some others, other handheld gasoline-powered products. And so these were what we were interested in replacing. So a report was produced, and the main purpose of the report was to say, okay, there are electric versions of these products, and it was focused on the string trimmers. They are more expensive, but they're far cheaper to operate, and therefore they pay for themselves. This was the basic analysis that was done. You can see in this case, and the prices have changed, and of course gasoline prices change all the time, but in this case the battery powered version was $770 and the equivalent gasoline was $220, but the cost of electricity was only about 2 cents an hour, and the cost of gasoline to run them was about 40 cents an hour. So obviously a huge savings in operating costs, and in this case, in using our numbers, came to a 3.3-year payback period. So a very attractive payback period. As a result, the facilities department did purchase 2 electric trimmers, and they also got 2 electric leaf blowers. They've been hearing the same kinds of objections to those. And our residents trails team, which maintains the trails in our 80+ acres of woods here, they decided to get one too, which they did. And that was fine. The person who brought this up was satisfied, and that was the end of his involvement with the Energy Committee. But there continues to be an interest in converting more stuff to the battery-powered version. We still, however, have a lot of gasoline powered equipment, and it's being gradually replaced. And much of our lawn care is done by contractors, and we have less leverage in that case to determine what kind of equipment they will use. But they're facing the same financial issues as Kendal at Longwood is, Kendal and Crosslands. So they are gradually moving in the direction of battery powered equipment also. And I know several of the other Kendals. I heard at Frank Mandy's sustainability project group meeting yesterday that Kendal at Ithaca has moved to electric powered, battery powered string trimmers, for example. And we also have a bunch of other gasoline powered devices, edgers, pole pruners, hedge trimmers, and chainsaws, all of which are candidates for this. I'm not sure where we stand on converting any of those, but I think it's inevitable that we will gradually convert all of those to battery operated too. And of course, then there's the lawn mowers. We have 4 push mowers, and which are used for the intermediate places between what has to be done by a string trimmer and what can be done by a riding motor. And the riding mowers, we see a lot of those on campus, but I think mostly they are owned and operated by contractors. But in any case, last summer, we got our first battery-powered robotic lawnmower. And this was an initiative entirely done by our facilities department, but certainly supported by the residents. And got named Mo and was deployed in August. So what's our experience with Mo? Well, this is what Mo looks like. It's made by Husqvarna. It only cuts less than a 10-inch swath, so it's quite a small lawnmower as these things go. But it manages an area of 1.6 acres, which is a pretty extensive piece of lawn on the Crosslands campus. And that's actually much more than Husqvarna says it is designed for. They spec this out at a little less than an acre, but it's doing the job nicely. But they do make, Husqvarna makes much larger units too, and I'm hoping maybe at some point we'll be moving in that direction. This is a little bit of the lawn that Mo works on next to the pond at Crosslands. And the way it works is it has an electronic fence buried in the ground, just like an electronic dog fence would be. And when it approaches the fence, it comes to a halt, backs up slightly, and then turns in a random direction and takes off again. And sometimes it immediately runs into the fence again, but other times it finds that it's headed in a new direction, and it goes on its way mowing. So you can never tell when a given spot will get mowed, but over a period of time, it all gets mowed. So this started late August, and the results last fall were very good. When Mo gets low on charge, it finds its way back to its charging station, which is this purple thing you see here, and it plugs itself in, gets enough charge to get going again, and then takes off again. So nobody has to do anything. The station has to be positioned where it can be properly found by Mo, but it's autonomous otherwise. Pete, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, Husqvarna is a Swedish company.
Oh, I said Norwegian. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I think it's Swedish anyway. It's one of those Scandinavian Viking things. And Husqvarna means house mill. Hughes is house and Kvarna is mill, I think. I don't know what that has to do with mowing lawns, but it's kind of fun. I didn't realize.
Yeah, neat. Yeah, I know nothing about the company except I've encountered their chainsaws before, but that's all I know about them. But anyway, this is a great little gizmo. They have a line of about over a dozen different models, of which this is one of the smaller ones. It's actually promoted as a residential lawn mowing tool, and they have larger commercial ones. So what do we know so far? Well, it spends, according to our facilities director, and this is almost a little too hard to believe, it spends only 4% of its time charging and 96% of its time mowing. That sounds like awfully fast charging, but okay. If it does that, it's great. Last year, and it started late in the season, it logged 603 hours of mowing, which they think means it can take on the work of about 30% of a full-time employee. So they'll be looking harder at that number this year. And next to the pond, we have a big problem with geese, and the lawnmower scares them away, which is a side benefit that no one anticipated. No analysis of cost or carbon savings so far, but it's clear to me that they'll be substantial. So I think we need to do more with this technology. On the one hand, Kendal and Crosslands are headed toward more meadow and less lawn, but on the other hand, we have a ton of lawn still that needs this weekly mowing, and this is a great way to get that done without harming the environment in other ways. So lawn care is just one of the things that needs to be electrified. Vehicles are a big one. We have 32 vehicles between Kendal and Crosslands, and we're looking at evaluating electric versions of those, but so far, although there are a couple of hybrid vans, there's no fully electric vehicle in the Kendal Crosslands fleet.